Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Minnesota.
Welcome to T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball on Fox Sports North. It's the final homestand of the season for the Twins, and it is the last night game the Twins will play this year. Game 2 for Minnesota and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tonight it's Kyle Gibson going for the Twins, hoping to pick up his 13th win of the season and his first career interleague win. He'll face Andrew Chafin of the Diamondbacks, making just his third big league start. Hello again from Target Field. I'm Marnie Gellner. Eduardo Escobar, the infielder for Minnesota, has made quite a big impression, both on the field and in the dugout. Escobar had sat out, though, the last 5 games with a sore shoulder. He came back in last night in the 7th inning as a pinch runner. He also got a hit in the 9th inning, a single. Escobar's hitting .275 this year and is tied for 12th in the American League with his 34 doubles. He's been the primary shortstop this season, and Escobar is as entertaining as he is productive.
It's a kid's game. You're supposed to come to the ballpark and have fun, and if you really want to see a guy doing it every day, that's Esco. He comes in here full of life, always hooting and hollering. Don't always know what he's saying, but it doesn't really matter. It's fun because everybody else laughs. All the Latin guys laugh, so I laugh with them. And you know what? He brings it, though. He brings it every day with the same attitude. Go out and have some fun playing baseball, and you can tell that he really loves the game.
Escobar's back at short tonight, batting 9th as Kyle Gibson hopes to finish strong. Dick and Bert are back with Gibson's final home start of the season after this.
Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards. And by Ram. Come in and get a great deal during Ram Truck Month going on now. 24 hours from now, the home schedule will be over with. The Twins hope to finish on a high note, hopefully picking up a couple of wins against the Diamondbacks. Another beautiful night at Target Field, and we welcome you to Twins baseball. Dick Bramer along with Bert Blyleven. Some things to be obtained and observed here in the final games of the season. One thing for Kyle Gibson, hoping the Twins will see that he's got something left in the tank at the end of the first full season in the bigs.
Kyle last year worked about 152 innings, 165 so far this year. And the season has gone very well for Gibson in his first starts here at home, making his 13th start. But over the last 5 starts, just one win, a very high earned run average. But that win came in his last start against the Detroit Tigers. He fell behind early 2-0. Twins scored 3. They scored 2 more. And Kyle Gibson, 6 very good innings, gave up 4 runs, worked out of a big jam in the 5th inning. And the Twins ended up winning that ball game 8-4. Kyle has had a lot of run support. Hopefully he'll get some of that here tonight.
Of course, before last year's schedule revision, interleague play was over and done with by the All-Star break. But now, because of the 15 teams in each league, do we have a chance for an interleague series in late September? And nobody's going to enjoy the series against the Diamondbacks more than Joe Mauer.
Yeah, Joe Mauer, now he did not play last night, but his numbers in interleague play, hitting .333, 210 hits for Joe Mauer in interleague play. And hopefully he'll carry that into tonight's ball game. But Joe, I think it's been a disappointing season for Joe. But hopefully over the last 4 or 5 days, he'll make it enjoyable.
Be a lot of focus on the Twins-Tigers series this weekend in Detroit. And Ron Gardenhire saying he was going to play some of the inexperienced guys. No Kenny Vargas tonight, no Danny Santana, no Kurt Suzuki. Twins will try to even this series at a game apiece when we come back. Lot attached to that game for the Detroit Tigers. So he's got 2 starts left. He hopes to finish strongly in what has otherwise been a pretty good season for the Twins, or for him. And Kurt Gibson, 4-0 against the Twins. They won all 3 games in Arizona a few years ago and won the opener last night. Menard's batting order for the Diamondbacks. Ender Inciarte leading things off. Jake Pollock, Jake Lamb, Mark Trumbo, Miguel Montero, Chris Owings, Cody Ross, Didi Gregorius, and Tuffy Gazowicz.
And let's take a look at the numbers on Kyle Gibson, making his 30th start. He is 5-1 on 5 days rest, and this is his 6th day to work, so hopefully that'll work out for him. Looking for his 13th win. 165 innings pitched for Kyle, 167 hits allowed, 54 walks, 93 strikeouts. Now, he's not a strikeout pitcher. If he's on, we always say this, he will get a lot of ground ball outs with his good sinker.
Inciarte, Pollock, and Lamb in the first inning.
Kyle has given up most of the runs that he has given up, 19 in the first inning. So first couple innings very important for Gibson.
And a first pitch fastball high and tight.
And 19 of the 87 runs Kyle has given up in the first inning. And what we see sometimes, that little extra day, even though it's a 5-1 record, very high earned run average. He needs that pitch right there, a little sinker.
Slow roller to Dozier and a quick first out. Oakland Ford defense for the Twins with some different players out there as advertised. Ron Gardenhire saying in this series where two teams not headed for postseason play, he would experiment a little bit with his lineup. He's got Jordan Schaefer at left, Aaron Hicks at center, Oswaldo Arcia at right, Nunez at third, Escobar at short, Dozier at second, Mauer at first. No Kenny Vargas, no Danny Santana, and Josmil Pinto behind the plate. Outside, ball one to A.J. Pollock.
Pollock 3 hits in last night's ball game, a couple singles and a double. He scored 1 of the 6 runs the Diamondbacks scored last night. Twins lost 6-2.
Taking low, 2-0.
For Kyle Gibson, this is his 4th interleague start this year, his 5th career interleague start, looking for his first interleague win.
There's a strike on the outside corner.
Gibson working off the first base side of the pitching rubber. Tall drink of water, 6'6", about 210. Kyle Gibson, 26 years old.
Swing and a miss, and it's 2-2.
Good slider right there. Basically a 4-seam fastball. That's straighter. He'll throw it into lefties, away to righties. A sinking fastball that probably is his out pitch. Just saw the slider right there and a changeup. An occasional slow curve.
Call third strike. Flip the inside corner at 94. 2 down.
Look at that. Mall of America scatter report on Kyle Gibson. Trust his sinker. We just saw a sinker right there that struck out Pollock down and in. Looking for his first interleague win. He's 0-4 in interleague play with a ERA at 7.59. And when he pitches 6 innings or more, good things have happened for Kyle Gibson. He is 11-3 with a 2.27 earned run average.
He's had 8 starts of 6 innings of shutout ball or more. But then conversely, 5 starts of 3 innings or less.
Yeah, when he does not pitch at least 6 innings, he's 1-8 with an ERA over 11. So we've seen the good and the bad from Kyle Gibson.
A ball hit right at Dozier. The first inning couldn't have gone easier.
This is a good one.
imagine weather like this when the Twins are headed to postseason play at this beautiful ballpark, and we hope it's right around the corner. Ron Gardenhire looking for career win number 1065. And he will hope to even this series and homestand with a win tonight. The Menards batting order for the Twins. Jordan Schaefer taking over the leadoff spot. Brian Dozier batting second. Then Joe Mauer, Trevor Plouffe, Oswaldo Arcia, Josmil Pinto, Eduardo Nunez, Aaron Hicks, and Eduardo Escobar.
Andrew Chafin on the mound, making just his third major league start. 24 years old, getting called up from AAA. His first 2 starts, 5 innings, 6 innings. Outings, 11 innings total so far at the major league level.
And Schaefer takes strike 1.
Tom Kelly kind of went over a scouting report on Chafin in the pregame. A fastball, 88 to 91, a slider that kind of breaks straight down, and then a changeup.
Fouled up the line. 2 strikes.
Chafin started this season down in AA, Mobile, and then moved up to AAA, which is Reno, for the Arizona Diamondbacks. 9-7 combined with an ERA just over 4.
And Schaefer on 3 pitches strikes out. Down, that'll bring up Dozier. Plan 4 defense for the Diamondbacks. Ender Inciarte in left, AJ Pollock in center, Cody Ross in right, Jake Lamb, Didi Gregorius, Chris Owens, Mark Trumbo, the infielders, and Tuffy Gazowish behind the plate. Strike 1 to Brian Dozier. Hard to make your batting average move much at all this late in the season, especially when you've been an everyday player like Dozier. But he's got it at 240 now. It's been sitting in the 230s most of the year, and take a good final week here, but he's got a chance yet to finish the season at 250.
Yeah, nice little streak right now. A 4-game hitting streak. He got yesterday off.
2-1.
7 hits in his last 17 at bats. A double, triple, and a home run. Getting his 21st home run here the other day.
Popped up. Backing out of play. Dozier hitting .262 against lefties, .231 against righties. Twins have hit 32 home runs against left-handed pitching, and Dozier has 7 of them. Two and 2. Off the plate, now a full count.
Chafin making his 3rd major league start. His first start came August 13th in Cleveland. No decision. He worked 5 shutout innings.
Pulled down the line foul.
And his last start coming on the 17th of this month. At home against the Giants, he worked 6 innings, gave up only 2 runs. Ended up getting another no decision.
Another 3-2 to Dozier. Out in front. Swing and a miss. 2 down.
Chafin came into this ball game with 5 strikeouts in 11 innings. His first 2 outs here recorded on strikeouts.
And that'll bring up Mauer, who's enjoyed the homestand, even though the Twins have only won 3 games. Mauer didn't play last night. Mauer's lowest career batting average is .287. That came 3 years ago. Less than 300 at bats, 3 home runs, 30 runs batted in. That was the infamous bilateral leg weakness year. 1-1. I don't know how else to identify it. That's what the season will be remembered by. And this year it's just not gone as Joe or the Twins had hoped. The theory was that Joe moving out from behind the plate would be healthier at first base. His hitting, if anything, would improve. The numbers would improve from where they were a year ago. And then you have to look back at last year, and he hit .324 last year. He had a very, very good year last year.
Yeah, struck out 92 times this year, 438 at bats. Only 4 home runs. He's driven in 52.
1-2.
So I know he's disappointed at the way the season has turned out.
And a rarity. He got hit by a pitch. Joe will go to first base.
And Chafin just trying to overthrow that fastball right there.
First time Joe's been hit this year.
Like right on the right elbow. First major league hit batsman by Chafin.
First time in 2 years Mauer's been hit by a pitch. He's at first, and now Plouffe. Pitch is up, ball 1.
Trevor been stuck on 40 doubles for a while. That's still the most for the Twins. He's driven in 979 runs.
(2-0). Trevor's numbers a little bit better than a year ago, particularly in the RBI department. Drove in 52 last year. His .254 average last year, a career high, and he's right about there again this year. This hit to right center field to the gap. Mauer rounding second. That ball won't be caught. Mauer to third. He'll be held there. And Plouffe takes a big turn and will hold up with a long single.
Boy, I almost called it. I almost thought he was going to get one of his patented doubles, but made that big turn because Mark Trumbo, the first baseman, he becomes the cutoff man in the middle of the infield and nobody there. So Trevor can take that big turn. Chafin fell behind an account, and Trevor hitting that ball in right center. Cody Ross gets it back in quickly, hits the cutoff man. Trevor stays at first, but Joe Mauer scoots over to third.
Arcia the batter. Arcia has been an everyday player this year. Righties, lefties. Ultimately, his future will be determined by how he does against left-handed pitching, whether he would be a platoon player. He's hitting .198 against lefties, 116 at bats against them, 8 extra base hits, 8 of his 23 hits. 1 strike.
He has 3 home runs against lefties.
And now 1-1. Arcia and Schaefer, left-handed batters, the only 2 in the lineup. Just off the plate, and it's 2-1.
As I mentioned, Chafin started in Double-A. He was 4-1 in Double-A, then moved up to Triple-A. Called up late because the Reno Ball Club was in the Pacific Coast Championship. Chafin actually pitched a couple good ball games in that, but Reno ended up losing to Omaha. Pacific Coast League Championship.
Diamondbacks are where they are despite the fact they've had good starting pitching. So Chafin, if he wants to be a part of it next year, he's got a bit of a crowd to fight through. 2-2 to Arcia. Struck him out. He struck out the side. The Twins leave 2 aboard in the first. Light. Mark Trumbo hit a long home run last night, part of an 8-game hitting streak against the Twins. He's hit 452 during that time. Most of that hitting streak, of course, as a member of the Angels.
Yeah, he's the only Diamondback that has faced Kyle Gibson, and he is 1 for 2 against Kyle with a home run.
Trumbo, Montero, and Owings face Gibson here in the second.
Trumbo missed about 2.5 months with a stress fracture in his right foot.
Breaking ball clips the corner. Kansas City leading Cleveland in the 5th inning 3-0. Also in the 5th, the White Sox, who shut out the Tigers last night, are scoreless with Detroit in the 5th. And tomorrow the Tigers get to face Chris Sale. A tall, towering fly ball down the left field line.
Oh my.
A foul ball, and it went over the foul pole and onto the Budweiser roof deck.
That is a first for me.
I've not seen anything come close to that. Of course, if it landed up there, it has to be a foul ball. As you can see, the foul pole is. But look where this ball landed, at the very top of your screen. 1 and 2. That was entertaining.
That was a strong man that hit that.
And then he comes inside with a sinker and gets strike 3. Second strikeout for Gibson.
And both of them with that sinker down and in. Pollock took strike 3, and this one straight over the top with that sink. Man, nasty pitch. He's fared very well against right-handed hitters, and that being Gibson. Right-handers hitting 247, lefties hitting 274, and opponents hitting overall 261 off of Kyle.
Miguel Montero will hit. Foul to the screen.
Montero from Venezuela in his 9th season with the Diamondbacks. Came up in 2006. Made the All-Star team in 2011, and then this year represented Arizona in the All-Star game here.
Not sure how he checked his swing, but he did. 1-1. Another check swing. 2-1. Statistics can be deceiving. I think everyone would agree with the Twins have seen some promise from Gibson and have seen a glimpse of the future, a very bright future both for him and the Twins when he takes the mound. Nice stop at first by Mauer, and he finds Gibson for the out. The ball headed for right field, but Joe Mauer picked it off.
Yeah, Joe playing off the line, dove to his right, made a very nice play. Montero hitting that ball sharply, and there's Gibson to cover first for the second out.
2 down, and now Chris Owings. Gibson's struggled a bit in September, and his ERA is 4.64, which is actually higher than the team's ERA. And ERA is not the best measure of a pitcher's effectiveness, but in Gibson's case, he's had some dominant outings and a lot of them, and then those short ones where he's given up a lot of runs in a short period of time. 1-1. Team ERA is 4.63, and Gibson's coming into play today with 4.64. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Across the plate, getting a piece of the breaking ball.
And we touched on it last night a little bit. A lot of injuries to the Diamondbacks this year. Here's Kyle Gibson in his wins. Over 13 starts, a 1.31 ERA, 0-11 over 16 starts with that high 8.53 ERA. So again, there's the good and the bad.
Came inside with a sinking fastball, got another strikeout. Couple of 1, 2, 3 innings for Gibson. Nothing has left the infield. 6 up, 6 down.
We start the bottom of the second inning here at Target Field. We saw a lot of Twins players and coaches taking part in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Now they are taking the Whipping Childhood Cancer Challenge. And this is to raise money and awareness for pediatric cancer because September is National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Reliever Brian Dunsing is the guy behind all of this, and he's been wearing a different T-shirt every day this month, honoring a child who has cancer or a pediatric cancer organization. And since there are only 30 days in September, Dunsing got more than 30 T-shirts, sent to him. He had his teammates help him out. They each wore a different shirt. They each took a whipped cream pie to the face, hence the whipping childhood cancer. So Dick and Bert, to be honest, though, it's Lisa Dunsing, Brian's wife, who is behind the organization of a lot of this. She bought all the Ready Whip. She came up with the T-shirt idea, but what a wonderful job that the Dunsings have been doing this month to raise awareness for such an important cause.
Absolutely. It's been an ongoing thing. I know Brian's been very involved with it. Thank you, Marnie.
Yeah, he and Lisa help. They donate a lot of time back to raise money for so many great charities.
3-0 to Pinto, and he takes a 4-pitch walk to start the second inning. Season tickets for next year are on sale now, and prices will remain unchanged. Next year, Twin season ticket holders will receive new benefits, including an enhanced ticket exchange program, convenient access to tickets on their mobile devices, and more. Find out more by visiting twinsbaseball.com. Leadoff walk for Pinto, and that'll bring up Nunez. Nunez has fallen into a rut, having a tough time getting the ball out of the infield. Hitless in his last 11 at bats. 1 strike. Fouled away. 2 strikes. Kansas City's expanded its lead now to 5-0 over Cleveland.
Yeah, those are must wins for the Indians, so the Royals putting a little damper on what Cleveland's trying to do, get back in the race. Kansas City trying to win this ball game. If Detroit loses, they are tied in our division.
Montero sets up inside. The ball flared into short center. And retreating is Owings. He makes a catch in short center field. It's Gozowicz, the catcher, setting up inside. 1 down. That'll bring up Aaron Hicks. Hicks reached 3 times yesterday. Hitting only .240 from this side of the plate, but when you mix in all the walks, an on-base percentage of .380 from this side of the plate. And he takes up high. We were discussing this with some friends in the booth here. It's my contention, I don't know if you agree with me or not, Hicks, despite his disappointments the last 2 years, he may have the best eye at the plate on the Twins roster, and I include Joe Mauer in that group now as well.
Yeah, 33 walks already. He has 165 official plate appearances.
165 at bats. Not a lot of strikeouts, 52 of those, but 33 walks. So if he ever gets to the point where he can get 500 at bats, he's on a pace to draw about 100 walks. Swing and a foul, 2-1. And if you only hit 260, 270, but you mix in 100 walks, you're on base a lot of the time. 2-1 to Hicks. Three and 1.
We have seen a lot of base hits, singles from Hicks. Not too many doubles since his return.
He has just 8 extra base hits of his 35. So his slugging percentage is a very soft .273. Up the middle, a base hit. Pinto will check in at second base. A sharp ground ball up the middle.
And again, that's what we have seen from Aaron Hicks. Base hits up the middle.
First and second, 1 down. Escobar will bat. You can now tweet your photo using #NorthFanPhoto, a chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T.
Well, you know, when you have some patience at the plate and then you take that count to 3-1 as a pitcher out there, you have to throw him a strike. He did, a fastball right there, and Aaron got the base hit up the middle.
But does it make any sense? I mean, you try to be optimistic. Here's a guy who can recognize pitches, whether they're strikes or not, that ultimately that pitch recognition should help him get his batting average up.
Well, we hope so. I mean, there's so much potential in this young man, and Twins are hoping that you know, getting demoted down to Double-A and then moving up to Triple-A, that maybe it woke up Aaron Hicks.
Strike over the inside
he could be
corner.
the player that the Twins felt he was when they drafted him in the first round.
One strike to Escobar. Finished the ball game last night. Got a base hit off the bench.
Yeah, Eduardo as a right-handed hitter hitting .308. Picked up a hit last night as a left-handed hitter.
Fouled away, 2 strikes. Gardenhire expressing glee that he's been able to put Escobar back on the lineup, because he's been one of the bright spots of this otherwise disappointing season. Escobar's play on an everyday basis. And he pokes a base hit down the line. Pinto around third. He's going to be waved in. Ross's throw not in time, and everybody moves up. Escobar might get credit for another double. He poked one over the head of the first baseman, and the Twins lead 1-0.
Yeah, not a good decision by Cody Ross. You want to throw that ball back into second base, because Pinto was going to score. Hicks kind of stopped at second for a second, and then he saw where Ross was throwing the ball. Not a bad breaking ball down and away, but good piece of hitting by Escobar, just taking it down into right field and that corner. Ross getting over there, kind of looked up right there and threw the ball in. It was not cut off, and it'll be a single and an RBI for Escobar, and Escobar advancing on the throw home.
Here's Schaefer. Struck out swinging on 3 pitches. Taken inside, ball 1. Twins scored the first run last night, and then saw the Diamondbacks rush past them.
Yeah, that leadoff walk of Pinto ends up hurting Schaefer, and Escobar picked up his 30th RBI of the year.
Corner infielders up, middle infielders back with 1 out. 2-0. Chafin has retired just 2 of the last 7 batters. He hit Mauer. Plouffe singled. The leadoff walk here in the second. Fell behind Hicks. Gave up a single, and then Escobar poking a double down the right field line. Breaking ball up and in, 3-0.
Yeah, Chafin, the #1 pick in the 43rd overall pick in the 2011 draft out of Kent State. Just his 4th year of pro ball.
And 3-0 fastball taken for strike 1.
Schaefer almost has to sit on that fastball again. A lot of room out in left center.
And he got a 92-mile-per-hour fastball through his swing, a full count. Dozier on deck.
Hit the ball past the pitcher on the infield at worst. Twins will get their 2nd run. Good speed at 3rd in Aaron Hicks.
Chopped up the line. Yeah, just don't strike out here. Put the ball in play someplace. Schaefer with a 2-strike foul.
Yeah, Trumbo, the first baseman, he's playing about even with the bag, so anything sharp hit to him, Hicks may have to hold at third.
You got some speed at third, and this is when teams decide whether to put the contact play on or not. Full count. And Schaefer fouling one back. Schaefer was fortunate to strike out Arcia, leave a couple of men on in the first inning. Here in the second, the Twins already have one on the board. And he's about to throw his 45th pitch. And Schaefer strikes out for the second time.
A good fastball at 92, outer half of the plate. And Chafin picks up his fourth strikeout. He went hard away.
And now Dozier, who went down swinging in the first, coming up in a big spot here with two men in scoring position. Hit to the outfield should drive in a pair. Up and away, ball one.
Chris Parmelee on deck. Mauer out with a right elbow contusion.
Hit by a pitch in the first inning. One and 0. Two and 0. Struggling with his control. 47 pitches, just 26 strikes, and it's 2-0 now to Brian Dozier. Three and 0. Parmelee in the on deck circle rather than Mauer.
And they go ahead and walk Dozier to get the Parmelee.
Thing they might not have done had Mauer been in the on deck circle. Parmelee has been very good against left-handers.
Yes, he has.
Mike Harkey, the pitching coach, coming out. Back to the first inning of Mauer getting hit by a pitch. Tricep area looked like, and then he made a nice play in the field. Being a pinch hit for by Chris Parmelee. Parmelee against lefties this year is hitting .316. Only Kurt Suzuki, a right-handed batter, is hitting lefties at a higher batting average rate than Parmelee is. 3 of his home runs this year have been against lefties. Comes up in a big spot here with the Twins on the board, but a chance to break the game open a bit in the second inning.
Well, we've seen Chafin basically stay away to lefties too, like he did to Schaefer, and that's where Parmelee's done a good job of taking the ball the other way. That's why that average is up on lefties against left-handed pitchers, and that fastball away up.
We've seen it so often. I can imagine a soft line drive over the head of Gregorius, because that's where he's gotten so many of his hits against lefties. 1-0. That's down the line and a fair ball. Hicks scores. Escobar scoring. The throw going to second base, and Parmelee is tagged out. 2-run score. Parmelee thrown out by Inciarte in the corner, and it's a 3-0 ball game. by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Brought to you by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Northland Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. Good start for the Twins. Chris Parmelee not in the starting lineup, but he delivers a 2-run single. And it's a 3-0 ball game for the Twins. Cody Ross will lead things off in the third. And there's a first pitch strike from Kyle Gibson here in the third inning. Very happy to have former Twin manager Tom Kelly.
Thank you.
Here in the booth with us.
Thank you for joining us, TK.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Junior. Appreciate it.
1 strike to Ross. Gibson has retired all 6 batters, and nothing has left the infield yet. And how important is it, Tom, for Gibson to show that he's got something left in the tank here at the end?
We've heard Bert. I'm not worried about that. I really am not. He's a strong young man. He's gone through that surgery. He had that practice here last year, getting through all that. He looked good to go to me.
Yep.
My opinion. But again, now let's remember he's had a few short starts throughout the year, and so instead of throwing 110, 115 pitches, there's some of them are 56 and 62. So you got to always remember that. But he looked strong to me, and I talked to him this afternoon. He seemed fired up to get out there. But what Bert talked about numerous times, and including tonight, staying ahead in the count. Now let's throw that sinker. The last hitter last inning, I believe, was he threw the breaking ball down and away. He swung at it like I would, and then he threw the sinker down and in, and he swung at it like I would. And he walks back. But it's all about being ahead in the count and putting the hitter on the little bit defensive. I have to swing. He's throwing strikes. And this is what I think that Kyle, and he's successful, that he gets ahead in the count.
And this is an important inning because, your team just scored you 3 runs. So you want to get your guys back in the dugout as quick as possible.
Bert's nauseated him many times. He's heard me say that. So we used to scream in the dugout, come on, let's be ready for the first guy. And it's so important to get this first guy out.
You see Parmelee now taking over for Joe Mauer at first base. And it looked like the breaking ball right there, and strikeout number 4 for Kyle Gibson.
2 of them swinging, 2 of them looking, and this one fooled the batter. Ross stood and watched it.
Well, you know what? You start throwing that sinker down, and the guy swinging through it, all of a sudden they take a pitch like that, and they go, where'd that come from?
Yeah, you get your attention, that one coming in at your feet when you swing at it and it pounds your foot. That's not pleasant. So I know Bert would always chuckle when he did that.
It's still good.
Yeah, why not?
Didi Gregorius, the batter. And there's a first pitch strike over the inside corner.
I had a chance to talk to Gregorius, of course, born in Amsterdam in Holland. But at the age of 4, he moved to Curacao. A lot of good infielders coming out of Curacao.
And he speaks what, 4 languages?
He speaks 4 languages, yes.
Pretty good.
Very nice young man. He had
he gave me
surgery
that
a couple years ago on the elbow.
He had a good night last night.
Yes, he did, with 3 doubles.
1-1. His center, Hicks, with the catch.
It's funny how the game goes, and the guy might hit. If you're going to have a good night, there's going to be some hard hit balls, and they go right at people. And thank you very much.
But that's a good pitch right there. That was a sinker down.
Right, correct.
And Gregorius had to go down, and he hit it sharply, but right at Hicks.
Yeah. He didn't get a chance to really elevate it. And he did a good job. It was a good swing.
Rick Anderson must
so far
be happy with things so far. 8 up, 8 down, and now Goswitch.
I'm excited about it.
Mixing in his pitches, and he gets a off-speed pitch over for strike 1.
Their guy Chafin's I watched the video. 2 games. I watched over 100 some pitches, and most of them were up in the zone. And Bert, as you probably noticed here tonight, that little breaking ball he throws and the changeup and the fastball, there's not much separation. in the speeds. So I think if our hitters are just patient enough, there's not that enough separation where it's going to get them off balance, or it shouldn't get them too far off balance, where they still shouldn't get the good part of the bat near the ball. So
good change up right there by Gibson.
Yeah, he looks like to me like, excuse me, I got the hiccups. He's going to need a little more separation. In his
I kind
pitches.
of, at the beginning of the show when we were talking about Chafin, I was listening to the pregame, and you kind of went over a scouting report by all the pitches you did see, and I kind of followed what you had said.
Right.
Up the middle, and it's the first Diamondback hit. Stuck the bat out and rolled one up the middle.
Breaking ball, Junior?
That was a slider right there.
Stuck the bat out.
You know what? I think the hardest thing to do at this level, and it took me a while, is to realize that these are the best hitters in the world that you're facing. And you can make a good pitch, and that was a pretty good pitch. A lot of times that'll get a ground ball out, but instead he hit it right up the middle. So now you don't let anything mushroom right here.
No.
Now you get the out.
No. And Ciarte, the batter, and as we discussed in the pregame, that's been one of the issues for Gibson. Not so much with 2 outs, but innings have snowballed on him. And when men get on base is when a pitcher needs to make his best pitches, and Gibson just hasn't done enough of that yet.
Yeah, he's been susceptible to that crooked number, as we all know. So again, let's. If he can just stay away from those, I think he's going to have a wonderful career. And then every once in a while, it's going to happen. That's just the way the game is.
1-0 to Inciarte. There's a bunt. And
perfectly
a good one. It'll be
placed.
a base hit.
I'm not a fan of that, as you know. And
You call that a tokie?
I call that a tokie. Get that bat. Excuse me, my batting average up. I wish I could get rid of the hiccups. But
tying run at the plate now, A.J. Pollock.
Well, it's a perfect bunt right here. I mean,
Sure
Gibson, you see him kind of fall off toward first a bit. No chance.
you really need
Nunez
to.
was playing
Now,
back a
you
little
know,
bit.
in my opinion, you're putting it on the next guy. I know they're behind, but still, I'd rather see him swing the bat.
Pollock called out on strikes his first time up.
Dave McKay right there, the first base coach, former Twin, former teammate of mine.
Talked to David quite a bit today, or yesterday, excuse me, and solid baseball guy. A lot of years with LaRussa, excuse me, at Oakland and St. Louis.
St. Louis as well, yeah.
There's Dave.
1 strike.
It's a big out right here for Kyle.
Yeah, let's stop it right now.
2 out single rolled up the middle, followed by a bunt single. Now 1 strike. A little bit low.
I always say if you get deep into the ball game, say the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, there's always going to be 2 or 3 times in a ball game that you really have to make some good pitches to get out of that situation that kind of piles in right now.
Correct.
The first 2 innings went well, 6 up, 6
Correct.
down.
Minimal pitches, stress free. More kind of innings you have with more stress. Excuse me, that's what adds up into the pitch count. And I think most managers worry about the stress level that it's involved with the pitches that you have to throw.
Right.
There's some stress-free pitches, and then there's other pitches that Bert, has alluded to that are more stressful.
Yeah,
and that's
Corey
what wears you down.
Kluber the other night with Cleveland, he threw 120 pitches here, but he didn't really have too many innings that were under duress.
Correct. And that's why he was out there as long as he was.
1 and 2 to Pollock.
It was actually nice to watch.
Pinto gliding to his left, or to his right rather. 2 and 2.
I got the hiccups, got you distracted, Dick. That's what happened there. We get that Army right and that Army left.
But you know how to get rid of those, don't you?
Well, we get a plastic bag and put it over your head.
I need to get the bag out. That's for sure.
Drink water upside down. Now, how you get upside down?
I need to stand on my head. That'll be if we do that, you get that video out. We'll send that on the YouTube. We'll see how many hits we get.
2 and 2 to Pollock.
Liven up the show.
Amen.
Bouncer to short.
All right, good job.
That takes care of it.
Nice.
Force play at second. Tom, thanks for stopping by. Good luck with the hiccup.
Done?
Yeah, good luck.
You want to get me out of here before we hiccup off the set?
Good luck.
Leadoff for the Twins in the third inning. And now for a look at our T-Mobile game changer. He's leading the team with 44 doubles and 79 runs batted in.
Trevor having a very solid year. Those doubles are always fun to watch if you're a former pitcher. When he's knocking in runs, a game winner right there.
And a Plouffe single in the first inning. He'll lead off the third. Twins got 3 runs in the second. Plouffe, Arcia, and Pinto in the third inning.
Andrew Chafin with 51 pitches in the first 2 innings.
Hard ground ball under the glove of Gregorius, and Plouffe has a pair of hits. Leadoff single here in the third. That'll bring up Arcia.
That's good hitting by Plouffe right there, because Chafin, last couple innings he threw a lot of pitches. He's trying to get ahead in the count. Came in with a fastball. Trevor was ready for it. Hit it right back up the middle. Pitchers out there struggling, he's not going to try to mix in breaking balls that he's not been getting over. He's going to try to get that fastball across the plate.
Strike one to Oswaldo Arcia. Struck out to end the first inning. That's with 3 runs on 3 hits in the second. Now an early hit in the third. Fouled back. That's 0-2.
Chafin struck him out in his last at bat on a hard breaking ball away.
Double play grounder. Owings, Gregorius, and Arcia. Bounces into a twin killing. 2 down in the third inning. Saturday, MLB returns to Fox. Derek Jeter's final weekend series. You might have heard that he's retiring.
Is he?
The Yankees take on David Ortiz and the Red Sox, while Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates try to hang on to the final NL wildcard spot against the Reds on Fox Sports 1. It all starts at 11:30 Central on Fox, noon Central on Fox Sports 1. Streaming live on Fox Sports Go. And maybe, we don't know yet, but maybe the biggest game played that day will be on Fox Sports North pregame at 5:30, the Twins-Tigers game. Kansas City leading Cleveland 5-0. The Tigers have a run on the board. They're leading the White Sox 1-0 in the 7th. Felix Hernandez had a dreadful 5th inning at the Rogers Center, and Toronto is leading Seattle 10-2, and the Mariners are fading fast.
They came into play 2 games behind the Royals and the Oakland A's in that wild card race. And you mentioned last night their pitching staff has been struggling as of late.
They've got to win with Felix Hernandez on the mound, and he had maybe his worst start of the year tonight. 2 strikes to Pinto, who drew a 4-pitch walk his first time up. Pinto strikes out, and Chafin has a much better third inning.
for the Twins with an RBI single. That scored Pinto, who had walked the lead off the inning. And then Chris Parmelee pinch hitting for Joe Mauer. As Mauer left the ball game, knocked in a couple runs, but got thrown out at second base trying to stretch that single into a double. So the Twins have a 3-0 lead.
Jake Lamb will lead things off. Lamb, Trumbo, and Montero facing Gibson in the fourth. Pinto held it, no call, ball one.
Lamb getting called up from AAA on June 7th. August 7th.
That is a fair ball over the line, and Parmelee doesn't believe it was a fair ball. Arcia's throw to the bag hits the runner and rolls into left field, and Lamb will hold up with a double. Now Parmelee asking for a replay, but this is not a reviewable call. It was in front of the umpire, John Byrne, and it's not a reviewable play.
Well, Lamb, who hit over 300 in the minor league, started at AA, then AAA. Even though that ball landed in foul territory, it's where it crosses the bag.
Yep.
And John Byrne right there, the first base umpire, saying it was a fair ball. A double for Lamb, his fourth double.
So some immediate trouble for Gibson, and we'll see if he can weave his way around this fourth inning without things mushrooming. Trumbo swings and misses in his first at bat. He struck out, but he entertained everybody here by hitting one up on the Budweiser roof deck and then down below. One strike to Trumbo.
Trumbo in his 84th game, 55 runs batted in. He had 100 runs batted in last year for the Angels. Hit 34 home runs. But very strikeout prone, and he goes after a fastball. Remember last night's ball game, I believe it was against Olivares. He swung at a pitch that was over his head almost. It's like he was already determined to swing no matter where the pitch was, and it looked like on that pitch right there. Now Gibson struck him out with that sinker down and in his first at bat. See what Pinto and Gibson want to do here.
Breaking ball, dribbled foul.
Trumbo, 28 years old, 6'4", about 235 in his first season with the Diamondbacks. Getting traded over during the winter, and a 3-team trade between the Angels, the Diamondbacks, and the White Sox. Kind of does the old Jim Thome, kind of points the bat out.
And it came back inside with that sinking fastball to get strike 3.
Second time he got Trumbo, and strikeout number 5 in a ball game for Gibson.
This track's presented by Dodge.
That's a nasty sinker down and in.
Our.com trivia question: who is the Diamondbacks' all-time leader in hits and home runs? Take a shot at this one. I think it's their Game 7
Gonzalez
World Series hero. Here's Montero. Fouled away, 1 strike.
His first year for the Diamondbacks, I believe 1998.
I believe that's the case, yeah. He came into existence the same year that the Tampa Bay Rays did. Up and in, 1-1. when baseball will expand again. It seems inevitable at some point that a market like Portland has been mentioned. Montreal's been mentioned as a team or a city worthy of either a relocated team or an expansion team. 1-1. Las Vegas has been mentioned.
I think if they expand, it's going to be a quality start as 5 innings, 4 earned runs or less.
Are you suggesting that there's a shortage of pitching?
Just a little bit.
It would make things a little easier, I would think, on the scheduling front. If you had to put a team in each league, you'd have 16 and 16. 2-1. You wouldn't have to have an interleague series all the time because you'd have an even number of teams in each league.
Yeah, but then you'd have one division that has 6 teams and the other were 2 with 5.
No, you could have 4 team divisions, no wild cards, one, and you have a 4 team playoff field in each league. Strike call, 3-2.
Montero kind of was ready to fling that bat toward their dugout. Thought it was ball 4. Gibson, no walks in a ball game. But the upper part of the strike zone, says Fox Tracks.
Full count to Montero. Driven to right. Garcia with Cash. Likes to show off his arm, and he handcuffs Escobar with a low 1-hop throw, 2 down. Bring up Owings. As this season winds down, it's never too early to start thinking about traveling to sunny Fort Myers and join the Twins on the official spring training fan experience. One-stop shopping for game tickets and hotel accommodations, as well as exclusive pregame meet and greets with players, front office staff, other personalities. Learn more and be ready to book as soon as the spring training schedule comes out. Call 612-276-3824 or visit twinsbaseball.com. 2 gone now. Lamb still at second, and here's Chris Owings. You'll actually start your spring training Sunday night, won't you? Your trip to Fort Myers.
Yes,
for
I will.
Spring training.
I'll tell you what, I was thinking about that as you were reading that. There have been more and more fans coming down to Fort Myers now. I mean, if you want to, find a place to book, do it now. It gets filled up pretty quickly.
You've got a nice place. You got a couple extra bedrooms. Why don't you give everybody your phone number and address, and people can contact you directly?
That's a good idea.
I've seen your place. It's nice. It's roomy. Beautiful view.
Yes.
And you could accommodate, what do you think, 4 more people? 6 maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
But they'd have to do their own laundry.
I think they'd want to be honest with you. 2-0. Fouled at the plate. 2-1. What time is breakfast typically at your house?
Noon.
Oh, that fits in.
And beverages starting at noon.
Okay. So it would be a bed and breakfast, but in the PM hours. Nothing happening in the AM at all.
Oh, heavens no.
2-1.
Take it outside.
And now 3-1, another 3-ball count. Gibson got around the 3-ball count with Montero and got him to line out to Arcia. Back-to-back innings where Gibson's had to work a little bit. That's not altogether a bad thing. These are the innings he needs to have some success in. 3-1. Up the middle, it's a base hit. Lamb to third. He's going to be waved around. Hicks with a throw that's cut off by Nunez, and they throw to first. Safe.
That's the way you want to do it right there. Aaron Hicks came in. He made that nice throw right to the middle of the infield. Nunez, the third baseman, was the cutoff man to keep that runner at first base. But the D-backs do get a run. That sinker stayed down. Owens with his 26th run batted in. And Owens stays at first base.
Cody Ross struck out his first time. Twins leading 3-1. A 2-out hit, producing the first Diamondbacks run. And they've got him picked off. Gibson showing some quick feet, picking off Owens to end the inning.
Yeah, second pickoff of the year for Kyle Gibson. Quick tag by Parmalee. And Owens is out.
Stay tuned for this important message from Meshmesher and Spence. Hours from now, we'll be in Detroit. The home part of the schedule will be over and done with.
Yeah, weather looks very, very good for that 4-game series in Detroit.
Gibson with 1 run allowed through 4 innings. Eduardo Nunez will lead things off for the Twins in the 4th. Nunez, Hicks, and Escobar. And a first pitch strike.
Nunez is one of those players that can play a lot of different positions. We've seen him in left field. Tonight he's starting at third. Just hasn't really had the playing time I know that he would like to have.
Driven hard.
That's maybe, you know, he's 0 for his last 12 at bats. He's hit into some double plays, but it's tough to be in a role. You know, we talked about Jordan Schaefer, the role that he was in Atlanta. Nunez has kind of been that way.
1-2. You know, looking ahead to even next year, it'll be interesting to see where, how, or if Nunez fits in to the Twins' plans. If Danny Santana comes in and plays shortstop on a full-time basis, Eduardo Escobar will be used, I would guess, then as a utility player. Doesn't mean he won't be playing on a regular basis, but just at different positions. If you have, the hope is the Twins will have a 12-man pitching staff, but then if you go to 13, you can't have a redundancy and have 2 utility infielders.
Right.
2 and 2. That's hit to almost the same spot as his first fly ball was, and the center fielder reacted poorly. Pollock from his knees throws, and Nunez is safe at second. The helmet ended up 2/3 of the way between first and second this time. Pollock cut over when the ball was hit not too far from where Owings caught his pop-up in the second inning.
Yeah, he's completely fooled by that right there. Pollock, I think he kind of held his ground, and by the time he could react, the ball kind of fell in. And I think Gibson's maybe waiting to hear from Alan Trammell if there's maybe an appeal at second base. Gregorius kind of looked at the umpire like I tagged him, but you see him right there kind of go toward right field. By the time he can react, and makes a one-hop throw to Gregorius, and second base umpire said he did not tag him. Kind of a sweeping tag. Nunez getting that hand on the infield side of second base.
If he got him at all, he might have gotten him on the right hip, and by that time Nunez's hand might have been on the bag. No challenge. Here's Hicks with Nunez at second and nobody out.
Yeah, double for Nunez, his 7th double of the year.
And Hicks takes outside, ball 1.
Now that's a big bat right here. You want to get Nunez over, maybe drive him in, but the Twins want to get that one run back the Diamondbacks put on the top of the inning. That's how their inning started, with a leadoff double.
Missing inside. Therein is the hope that Hicks's pitch recognition will allow him to get his batting after he's swinging just at strikes. You'd like to think that there's enough physical talent there to where he could be a 270, 280 hitter with some power. And then you mix in the walks and you've got a really good outfielder. That's hit down the line. It's going to hook foul.
Well, it's good to see him do that once in a while. Exactly what he did right there. Turn on the ball.
He's able to do that because he had a 2-0 count, and hitters are always more aggressive when you have a count like that.
And he got a base hit up the middle in the second inning when he was 3-1 count.
Two and one to Hicks. Couple of doubles.
You see the pitch count for Chafin at 67. He needed only 7 pitches in the 3rd inning, all of them strikes, to give up a base hit, double play, and a strikeout.
Inside now 3-1. Escobar on deck. Tigers added a couple more runs, and they're leading the White Sox now 3-0. The way things have gone here, Bert, in the last couple of days, there's been some separation in the wild card standings. We might find ourselves in Detroit with things all but settled in terms of which 5 teams.
Right.
There's a ball hit it over the head of the third baseman, Lamb. Flying around third and scoring is Nunez, and Hicks has another base hit, this time driving in a run.
Yeah, pitch left up again. The count in his favor. He got a pitch up and hit it in the left field, picking up his 18th RBI of the year. So the Twins are able to get that run back that the Diamondbacks put up in the top of the inning. A breaking ball, as Tom Kelly said, kind of flat. That flattened right into the barrel of the bat of Hicks. And Nunez, and his speed, scores the 4th run for the Twins.
And now Escobar. Saw Hicks try to steal a base last night. Gibson know for sure what his status is for next year. He's under contract, but that doesn't necessarily mean with the
trip by the catcher was just a little more extra time to allow the reliever to get some more throws in.
Chafin will come out in the 4th inning, having not retired a batter.
Yeah, Chafin first 2 starts at the major league level went well. This one did not.
And Diamondbacks go to their bullpen early. 4-1 Twins in front. And a pitching change. Zeke Sproul coming in.
Yeah, Sproul, 25 years old in his second season with the Diamondbacks, making just his 6th relief appearance. He did make one start, 18 2/3 innings. He's allowed 22 hits, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, 13 strikeouts.
Escobar will bat with a runner at first, a run already in here in the 4th inning. Some hooting and hollering from the Twins dugout. I think they thought that might have been a balk.
Yeah, Sproul at 6'5", about 190, traded over from the Atlanta Braves a couple years ago.
Outside ball 1.
Came over in the Justin Upton and Chris Johnson trade. They went to the Atlanta Braves from Arizona.
One and 0 to Eduardo Escobar. Hit an opposite field double, driving in a run as a right-handed batter. Now a pop-up near third base. 1 down. And that'll get us to Jordan Schaefer.
Yeah, Sproul in the minor leagues this year, 31 games. He made 13 starts in the minor leagues, just 3-9 record, an ERA over 6. Diamondbacks with all the injuries, giving Sproul a chance here to get some innings in.
Schaefer happy that Chafin left the ball game. Chafin struck him out twice. Not much of a leg kick from Sproul. Hicks was, as it turned out, thrown out at second base after the challenge by the Diamondbacks. Schaefer's average as a Twin dropped down below 300. Started the day at 288. 2-0.
Curveball missing right there.
Fouled over the Arizona dugout. Last night game of the year here at Target Field. And a noon game tomorrow. Then the 4 games in Detroit. Liner into right field. And Hicks will go to second base. Schaefer having better success against the right-hander, pokes the 3rd hit of the inning into right field.
Fastball, not a lot of movement right there. And Jordan Schaefer lining it into right field.
They'll bring up Dozier. Struck out in the first and then drew eventually an intentional walk to fill the bases in the second. Twins out hitting the Diamondbacks now 8-4. Way backhanded by Gozowish.
Kind of paying back the Diamondbacks what they did against the Twins last night. They out hit the Twins 14-6.
How long the beard's going to stay with the manager? Likes blocked by Gozowish. He likes the outdoors fall and winter activities here in Minnesota. Hunting and ice fishing and all that. He may just keep it.
Looks good in a beard. I like it. You like it?
Yeah. Two and 0. He got a pitch up there where he likes it, and he fouled it. Swung right through it. That's where a lot of Dozier's home runs have been struck up and in.
Again, we're going to see. I think Tom Bernansky is going to work with Brian Dozier a lot on trying to hit the ball the other way. I know he's pull happy sometimes. When they pitch him in, he's very quick inside.
Foul back 2-2.
Pitch a little bit inside. And Bruno feels that average can get up to the 260s and 270s if he tries shooting that ball a little bit up the middle a little bit more. Especially in the American League. I know this is interleague play. Probably don't see a lot of report on Brian Dozier, but we've seen American League teams really bust him hard in and then sit away.
Oh, right there. Hit the outside corner.
Spool picks up the strikeout, a little two-seamer that must have caught the lower part of the box tracks, and it did. Pitcher's pitch.
2 down, 2 on, and now Parmalee. Parmalee drove in a pair of runs with a single, but he was thrown out by Plenty trying to make it a double. That was the final out of the second inning. Entered the game at that point. Joe Mauer was hit like in the tricep area by a pitch in the first inning and hung around till the second and then left. Here's a ball hit into left center field, and a nice running catch made by Inciarte. And that ends it for the Twins. They got to run back, leaving 2. It's 4-1.
Starts the top of the 5th inning, and we're in the Minnesota Lottery Winners Circle. We have $100 worth of scratch-off tickets for Chris from Aurora, Minnesota. He's with his fiancee Amanda and his dad John. They're here to see next year's World Series champs. Kenny Vargas said that was his goal. Last night he said that. Chris, you convinced me earlier. Why will the Twins be World Series champs next year?
Hey, we haven't even seen all the talent we have coming up in the farm system. And some of the guys that we have seen have really had great years. Danny Santana's really impressed everybody. Vargas, what little time he's been up here, has been just outstanding. And, that's just naming 2 players. So, I think we got the talent to do it if we can get our pitching in line. I think we're going to be tough to beat next year.
I like your positivity, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Dick and Bert, he'll be up in the booth to join you guys
Gotta
right
love
after
that.
this.
The power of positive thinking. Thank you very much, and we sure hope that you're correct and you are hereby circled.
And of course, Aurora, Minnesota, up in the northern part of the state, a little bit south of Salo Corner, and a little bit north of Palo.
Hey, did you like how I found Homer, Michigan yesterday?
That was nice, yeah. And Aurora, it probably takes you about 20 minutes to get there, but it's almost due south from Embarrass, Minnesota.
Oh, a lot of red faces down there, huh?
It's northern Minnesota.
Oh, northern Minnesota. Oh, you're embarrassed. Just like my face is right now.
1-0. Gregorius lined out to Hicks his first time up. And outside. Gibson gave up a leadoff double in the fourth, and he came close to getting out of the inning, but a 2-out single scored a run, and now he'd like to get back to the type of innings he had in the first two.
I want to see him pound that strike zone again with that sinker too. I've seen him too many times in the middle innings try to trick people. That 92-mile-an-hour fastball gets a strike. That's his go-to pitch. His out pitch is that sinker down and away.
2-1.
And he's had a good one so far. He's picked up 5 strikeouts.
It's hit to right center field, hit towards the gap, down for a hit, and Hicks with a good play to hold him to a single.
See, that's more the four-seamer, and that's where, to me, and it's easy to sit up here and second guess, but that's, to me, when you're behind an account, that's where you want that little bit of a movement to hopefully get a ground ball out. That ball was straight. Gregorius didn't miss it, picks up a base hit. Take a look at the pitch right here. That stayed right there. And you see Pinto was sitting outer half. So that ball that looked like it had the spin of a two-seamer just stayed right there.
Here's Gozawish. Gozawish with a single up the middle. With 2 outs in the third inning, it was the first hit, first base runner of any kind against Gibson. And he missed the inside corner with the sinker.
Gozawish, 31 years old. Spent most of the time down in Reno, which was AAA again for the Diamondbacks. 72 ball games, hit .284. Career .239 hitter in 9 minor league seasons. Originally signed by the Phillies in 2005 out of Arizona State. Parmalee got kind of handcuffed right there on that throw over.
One and 0 to Gozawish. There's the inside corner. 1-1.
Josh Callmenter worked last night where he really showed a great changeup, but also showed great downward plane. And he's 6'4". Gibson at 6'6". That's what he's trying to create. That downward plane toward home plate. Good pitch
double
right
play
there.
grounder.
Good pitch.
Escobar to the bag, and he throws to Parmalee, and Gibson faces just 3 men in the fifth.
22nd double play turned behind Kyle Gibson.
to
big smiles all around.
Finish a school day, go to school, and you go to a ball game at night. And then if the teacher asks, you just say, you know, dog ate my homework. Right? Did you ever use that one?
I never had homework.
You just never did it. You had it. You just never did it.
I had great teachers.
Trevor Plouffe will lead off the 5th inning. He's got a pair of singles so far on the night. Facing Sproul, who entered the game and got the 3 outs needed in the 4th inning. Strike at the knees. Plouffe, Arcia, and Pinto. Third hit, and they've all gone right up the middle of the field for Trevor Plouffe. Leadoff hit for the Twins here in the 5th. The 2015 regular season schedule's out. Perhaps you've had a chance to look at it already, and you may want to start thinking about games you'll want to attend here next year. The home opening series is April 13th, 15th, and 16th against the Kansas City Royals. 20 interleague games here at Target Field, and a weekend series against the Brewers June 5th through the 7th. And find out more about next year's schedule at twinsbaseball.com. I know one guy who's relieved that the Twins are opening on the road is Larry DeVito, the groundskeeper. This field has survived an awful lot of stress when you consider all the events, the 81 Twins games, but the double headers, the All-Star game, Futures game, concerts, things like that. And so the Twins this year or next year will open in Detroit, and particularly if we have a winner. There's a ground ball hit through the hole on the right side. Plouffe will round second, on his way to third. Ross's throw is knocked down by Gregorius. I'm not sure how in the world Arcia found a seam through the right side of the infield defense.
Yeah, sometimes a ball just has eyes, and that's exactly what happened right there. Underneath or just past Trumbo at first base. Arcia hitting this ball sharply. See Trumbo go for it. Underneath his glove. Owens, he dives for it just out of his reach, and then Plouffe getting the read and scoots over to third.
First and third, nobody out, and now Pinto. Pinto with a walk, a run scored, and a strikeout. Snap bat. Out at second, relay to first. It's a double play. Another run will score with Plouffe coming in from third.
Yeah, no RBI for Pinto hitting into the double play. Second double play the Twins have hit into. But the Twins have a 5-1 lead as Plouffe scores for the first time.
2 down, and here is Nunez. By the way, for the record, I'm hopeful, fervently prayerful that we will not have a winter like we had last year. But if we do, at least the ground crew's got a little extra time to get the ballpark ready with the season starting on the road. Nunez with a pop fly double and a run scored his last time up. Off a leg. Oh, look, that was high off of a leg.
Just kind of running that off a little bit. Pitch inside.
Oh, right off the toe of the left foot. 1-1 to Nunez.
So What does Sproul do?
Run right back in there.
Go right back in there again with that 2-seamer.
Three runs for the Twins in the second, 1 run in the fourth, 1 run in the fifth.
4 runs charged to Andrew Chafin, who started this ball game.
Hard ground ball fielded by Lamb.
No throw.
Safe at first. Nice scoop at first by Trumbo, but Nunez, sore toe and all, flying down the line, gets an infield hit.
Yeah, he can run. He can get out of that batter's box quick.
That'll bring up Hicks, who has a couple of hits already tonight.
Yeah, Lamb had to go to his left and didn't really get a lot on that throw and allowed Nunez to beat it out. Watch Lamb right here. Throw low, but Nunez beat it out. Good hustle.
Hicks with a pair of singles and a run batted in, a run scored. Drove in a run by pulling a single down the left field line. He was the last man that Chafin faced before Sproul entered the game.
And Nunez on at first base, 8 stolen bases in 11 attempts.
Outside, ball 1. There goes Nunez, an off-speed pitch, and a stolen base for Nunez.
He ran on a good pitch because it was a breaking ball. It's going to take a little extra time. Rosewich, 1 hopping. And Nunez in safely with his 9th stolen base.
Chance for Hicks to drive in another run if he can get another hit to the outfield. Nice stop at third by Lamb, and he gets Hicks by a step. Solid contact made by Hicks. The Twins get 3 more hits and 1 more run.
Longview, Washington. He'll be making a start at first start on Thursday night in Detroit.
Do you think Trevor would appreciate it if we, for the airwaves saying happy birthday to him.
No, I really don't.
All right, we'll pass on that then.
Yes, happy birthday anyway.
Yep. Inciarte takes ball one from Gibson.
Kyle has given up 5 hits, only 1 run, that coming in the 4th inning. He's fallen behind on 7 first pitch strikes of the 19 he's faced.
And now 2-0.
No walks for Kyle with 5 strikeouts.
There's a fastball and a strike.
Inciarte, just 23 years old. Started the season in AAA, called up on April 30th.
A liner to center. Leadoff hit in the 6th. Bring up A.J. Pollock. Look at our AT&T fan photo of the game. You can tweet your photo to #NorthFanPhoto for a chance to be shown on an upcoming game broadcast, but you better hurry because we're off the air Sunday afternoon. Brought to you by AT&T. A blue tongue.
Blue ice cream will create that blue tongue.
A.J. Pollock, the batter. Fly ball right field. Garcia back. Now in. 1 down. Tigers have a 3-0 lead in the 9th inning. David Price going for a complete game, but now the White Sox have runners at 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. And Joe Nathan warming up. Jake Lamb.
Lamb led off the 4th inning with a double, later scored on a 2-out RBI single by Owens.
Step off and a look over. Gibson picked off a runner to end the 4th inning. Chris Owings. Down and away, ball 1.
75 pitches for Gibson, 46 strikes.
And off the plate, 2-0. Six hits for the Diamondbacks.
Five singles and a double. Gibson needs to throw a strike here. Inciarte at first base. He stole a base last night. Diamondbacks ended up stealing 3 bases last night.
Gibson got a double play grounder to get off the field in the 5th. Sort of chopped across the line, fielded by Parmalee. That ball hit hard into the dirt. Gibson had it in his glove, and the home plate umpire Lance Barksdale made him switch baseballs.
Just not right. You know, the throw that a couple innings ago when Arcia threw that ball into Escobar that kind of short hopped him. Gibson got to use that ball. I saw it.
Yeah, you paid attention to those things when you were pitching, and still to this day.
Yes,
right?
I do.
Okay.
We could use one baseball maybe for, you know, the whole inning. It didn't leave the ballpark out of my hand.
Well, that didn't happen that often.
Oh, yes, it did.
I remember in high school in Staples,
Oh.
and the ball was lopsided. I was pitching, as you might have guessed, but that was the only ball we had.
Right.
3-1.
Inciarte, he's a threat to steal, but right now with a 4-run lead, Gibson needs to concentrate more on the hitter at the plate than the base runner. Make a good pitch right here. Get a ground ball. Last inning ended on a double play.
High fly to center. Hicks over and back a little bit. Positioning himself for a throw. 2 down. Superball giving up some fly ball outs here in the middle innings. Take advantage of the Fox Sports North Minnesota Wild fan pack ticket offer during the September 27th and 29th preseason home Wild games. Starting at $60, you'll get 2 upper level tickets to the game, 2 hot dogs, and 2 sodas. For details, visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on upcoming events on the Hot Topics bar.
And this might be what Rick Anderson's out to talk to Gibson about. Is don't worry so much about that base runner. Keep attacking the strike zone. Don't fall behind. Stay aggressive in the strike zone.
White Sox have scored a couple in the 9th against David Price. 2 outs, and Paul Konerko, the last hope for the White Sox. They honored Konerko before the game today. His last game, or next to, I guess it's his last night game at Comerica Park, and now he has a chance to break some hearts. Pirates beat the Braves, and they've clinched a playoff spot for the 2nd year in a row. Swing and a miss by Trumbo. Gibson's had Trumbo eating out of his hand. He gave up the long foul ball back in the 2nd inning at bat. But Trumbo has been swinging wildly at Gibson's pitches here tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if he's taken a pitch. He's up there swinging the bat. Struck out in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th.
Just missed the outside corner with a fastball.
Trumbo signed with the Angels. He grew up right there in Anaheim. So he had a chance to play for his hometown team. Now in Arizona.
Breaking ball that missed the inside corner. 2-1.
Gibson slowing his pace a little bit too. Get back on that pitching rubber and attack.
Dribbled up the line, and it'll stay foul. Well, again, Cincinnati was starting towards second base as Gibson was holding the ball. Normally maybe talking with him about that. Cincinnati took a step and a half toward second base and then stopped. If Gibson had, while Gibson was still holding on to the ball, if Gibson had turned and thrown to first, they would have picked him off. Time call. Two and two, and a throw over to first.
Yeah, this is a part of the game that as a pitcher you want to be aggressive in the strike zone because Gibson taking a little extra time, and what happens is that your defense starts playing on their heels rather than their toes.
Nice stop by Pinto. A couple of times he's done that on the Gibson breaking ball. Lands on the left-handed batter's box.
Told you the numbers in the beginning of this ball game. When Gibson goes at least 6 innings, he's 11-3 with a 2.27 ERA. Breaking ball, Pinto doing a good job of bouncing to his right to smother that ball.
Full count with a runner at first and 2 down. He'll take off. Time call. Urco's delivered a single on the tying run now at third base in Detroit. 2 outs. Kansas City's beaten the Indians 7-1. Fastball inside has worked every time, getting a swinging strike 3 from Trumbo. And Enciarte's left at first base.
Clearance event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. And by McDonald's. Your McDonald's has 5 extra value meals under $5, including the Big Mac at participating locations.
It's been a good night for Kyle Gibson and the Twins. They've got a 5-1 lead, hitting now in the bottom of the 6th. Eduardo Escobar takes strike 1. Most damaging hits for the Twins have been opposite field hits. How about that? The White Sox getting 3 runs in the 9th against David Price. It's a high fly to right field. And it's the center fielder Pollock.
And again, if the White Sox come back and beat the Tigers, Kansas City's tied with the Tigers.
And again, the Tigers have to face Chris Sale tomorrow in his last outing of the year. So you can bet that whatever Sale has left, he's going to leave it on the field tomorrow. Unbelievable. Marcus Semien tying the game with a single. Price out of the ball game. Price had a 3-hitter going into the 9th, and he gave up 4 singles and a double in the 9th. Down and in to Schaefer.
Schaefer a couple strikeouts and then a single in his last at bat in the 4th inning. There are the standings right there. Again, Detroit loses, Kansas City and Detroit are tied.
White Sox still batting. They got the go-ahead run at third. Nathan coming in. Escobar squares to punt and takes ball 2. To Schaefer with 1 gone. 3-0. Dozier on deck.
And we have one more game here against the Diamondbacks. And for Kansas City, they have one more game left with the Indians.
Right.
And then they go to Chicago with a 4-game series against the White Sox.
Where they won't have to face Chris Sale. We know what that's like. We had a 4-game series here with the White Sox. Didn't have to face Sale and swept the White Sox.
So thank you very much.
And similarly, the Tigers won't have to face the Twins ace Phil Hughes. He's going tomorrow. Fouled away. 3-2.
And Phil Hughes tomorrow will be going for the 4th try to get his 16th win. His 2nd career start against the Diamondbacks.
Have not been retired 1, 2, 3 yet in the ball game. Schaefer taps it to second. Easy play for Owings. 2 down. That'll bring up Brian Dozier. Minnesota sports fans, make sure you stay up to date with all the latest events around the area. From your favorite hometown teams to the Fox Sports North girls, we've got you covered. Log on to foxsportsnorth.com, click on upcoming events on the Hot Topics bar. 2 down on the 6th. Dozier has not put a ball in play. He struck out twice. And then once the count ran to 3-0, the Diamondbacks intentionally walked him in the 2nd.
See Nunez and Santana talking a little hitting right there.
Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. By Dodge, rather.
Brian looking for his first hit. A couple strikeouts, an intentional walk.
Inside. 1-1. Breaking ball, bounced foul. Seattle lost 10-2 to Toronto. So with Kansas City's win, the Mariners are now 3 games back. Indians are 4.5 games back of Kansas City.
And Seattle 2 more games in Toronto and then 3 out in Anaheim.
Foul back, out of play. So again, by the time we get to Detroit tomorrow night, some of the suspense in terms of which 5 teams will be in the playoff field could conceivably be done. We may know pretty much who the 5 teams are, but nobody wants to play that wild card game. To center. Hit almost directly at Pollock, and for the first time tonight, the Twins are retired 1, 2, 3.
RBI single. Chris Parmelee pinch hitting for Joe Mauer, who came out of the ballgame. A 2-run base hit. That made it a 3-0 lead. And Kyle Gibson, 6 innings so far, 6 strikeouts, no walks. And he struck out Mark Trumbull 3 times in the ballgame. For Gibson, 85 pitches, 51 have been strikes.
Missing the inside corner, ball 1. Going to the bottom of the 9th, and Detroit tied at 3. Montero, Owings, and Ross hitting for the Diamondbacks in the 7th. And now 2-0.
Where you want to kick it in again for Kyle Gibson. Get through the 7th and then maybe out for the 8th if he has a quick inning.
Someone take your temperature.
There's 3 pitches, 1 out, I hope.
And it's the shortstop Escobar with the catch. 1 down. As a show of confidence, perhaps, no activity in the Twins bullpen. They're sending Gibson out there for the express purpose of starting and finishing the inning. 1 down. And now Owings. Owings with an RBI single. He's driven in the only Arizona run with a single in the 4th. Squaring to bunt, taking ball 1.
That brings Nunez in at third base. He was playing back. He's about even with the bag at third.
Chopper foul. Gibson hasn't had but 1 ground ball out. He actually got 2 outs with the double play grounder in the 5th, but all the other outs have been strikeouts or fly ball outs since the 3rd inning. One and 2. Outs are outs, but again, when he's on, most of his outs come on ground balls. And a strikeout of Owings, 2 down.
Yeah, slider away, and Owens going out of his swing zones. So Gibson picking up his 7th strikeout. 2nd time he was able to strike out Owings.
Pitch number 4 was as far outside as pitch number 3 was inside. Now's the time to renew your season tickets or become a new member of the season ticket family for next year. Along with the usual matchups against the division rivals, the Twins host National League favorites Milwaukee, Chicago, the Cubs, and the Cardinals, all at Target Field next summer. All 833 Twins. Visit twinsbaseball.com to get more details on next year's schedule. It's a schedule that, as we said, will start with the Twins on the road. Half swing. I think he went. Nope. Bird says no. 1-1. Opening up on April 6th, fully a week later than they opened this year.
Very close.
I would have called that a strike.
Get down to first, would you?
2-1. Pitching in the bottom of the 9th for the White Sox.
Cody Ross brings in some experience with him. He was part of the Giant organization and when they won the World Series in 2010 in his 2nd season. His season actually started late. He had hip surgery during the winter. Spent some time on a disabled with a sprained left calf.
Fouled off the end of the bat.
.97 pitches for Gibson. Trying to get the final out here in the 7th.
To left. Schaefer running and trapped it. Schaefer got there as quickly as he could, and he was able to field the first hop. It's a 2-out single for Ross. That'll bring up Gregorius.
Well, good effort by Schaefer right here. Thought he could catch it. Diving for it. Kept that glove open, and the ball bounced into the glove.
Gregorius with a liner to Hicks and a base hit. Gibson's just missed that pitch, having a call to strike about 5 or 6 times. He's just been in off the plate, right under the umpire's mask. So plate umpire Lance Barksdale should get a pretty good look at it.
Some umpires will, that ball has to have almost the whole plate, but they'll give you a little bit away.
Because they can't see it as well.
Right, right. And I'm not saying that that's what Lance Barksdale has done. You see 100 pitches for Kyle Gibson.
Umpires sometimes say they'll put their eyes right over the inside corner, and they'll be able to see the ball intersect the white. Fouled back. And it's 1-2.
And with Gibson's sinker, you have to throw that 4-seamer in on lefties so they don't start diving over the plate and hitting the ball the other way. So that's working both sides of the plate. Now he's ahead in the count here. Career high, or excuse me, season high 8 strikeouts. Also a career high. That's 7. So if he can get number 8 here. And he does.
And Pinto has to throw to first, I think. And now Nunez going back to third. Pinto bailing to Lance Barksdale.
Well, that's a mistake by Pinto right there. Go ahead and throw it.
Well, now I think what the Twins dugout is saying is that Pinto dropped the ball. It didn't touch the dirt. He simply dropped the ball. First base will be awarded to Gregorius. I think Ron Gardenhire might ask for some help from the other umpires. I didn't see it.
I think Lance Barksdale saying that he trapped it. So a throw at first has to be first. Take a look at the breaking ball right here.
Oh, that hit the dirt, yeah. The very same play was a critical play in 2005 when the Angels won the World Series. And A.J. Pierzynski in a similar spot ran to first. And it was a pivotal point in the ALCS. And, of course, the White Sox went on to win the World Series that year. High fly to center field. Shouldn't matter. Hicks under the fly ball.
Yeah, what it is, it's a learning experience for Pinto right there. Yep. I know Terry Steinbach can do some talking. transmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins, LLC.
Twins with a 5-1 lead. It might be that Kyle Gibson's day is done. He sure looks like he's getting congratulatory handshakes. Some clarity in the American League playoff race. In the American League Central, Detroit did win its game in the bottom of the ninth. Miguel Cabrera with a walk-off single. And so you've got the division leaders or champions, Detroit leading Kansas City by a game, but separation now behind Kansas City. Oakland and Kansas City were tied coming in. Kansas City won today. Oakland has just started its game against the Angels, but Seattle lost, Cleveland lost. So it sure looks as if you're going to have 3 division champions, Oakland, and the consolation winner in the American League Central, either Kansas City or Detroit. There's Parmelee leading off the Twins 7th and a foul back. Oakland is playing right now. That's why they are a half game ahead of Kansas City.
Well, I mean, if Oakland continues to lose, I mean, you look at Seattle, they still have a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
I got Parmelee in the foot.
So Parmelee will go to first, leading off the 7th inning. But again, the distinction this year and last year was the first year with the 2 wild cards. There is tremendous incentive to win the division. So even when we get to Detroit tomorrow, if it's established that Kansas City's in the playoffs, Detroit's in the playoffs, there's still an awful lot to play for.
And the breaking ball getting Parmelee in the foot, so he's at first base.
Blue 3 for 3, 3 singles up the middle, and the average up to 256. Breaking ball on the outside corner. Ball taken. 1-1. Drill to left. 4th hit for Plouffe. Parmelee will round second and hold there. Trevor having a great night at the plate with 4 sharp singles.
Well, he has not missed a pitch here tonight. Like a breaking ball. Did it stay up? Yes, it did. Trevor putting a good swing on it. You heard Tom Bernansky in the back row. Attaboy.
Arcia, a strikeout, a ground ball, double play, and a single. Twins looking to add on here in the 7th. 3 runs in the 2nd, a run in the 4th, and a run in the 5th.
Trevor Plouffe, it's the 2nd time he's had a 4-hit game this season.
One and 0 to Arcia. Swing and a miss.
Wolf and Trumbo sharing some sentiments. One and one to Oswaldo Arcia. A high fly to center.
Parmalee needs a tag up here, which he's doing.
And Plouffe holds on at first. One down. And that'll bring up Pinto. Now on FoxSportsNorth.com, you can view photos from tonight's game and read Tyler Mason's analysis. Read the latest in our Wolves player profile, Shabazz Muhammad. And as Brian Hall writes for the Vikings, it's Teddy time, making his first NFL start. Twins have hit 67 home runs here at Target Field. Their record, 69, set 2 years ago when Josh Willingham hit so many, hit 35 on the year. And was the first right-handed batter the Twins had that made this ballpark look small. Chopped foul. One strike. So a chance for the Twins to match their season high output for home runs in their home ballpark.
The Twins have hit 124 home runs on the year.
One strike to Pinto. And now a ball taken.
All 7 home runs for Pinto coming early in the season before he got optioned out to AAA.
Inside 2-1. Expect to start Kurt Suzuki behind the plate tomorrow. A high fly to left. Going back is Inciarte. The edge of the track, he makes the catch. Tagging from third, scoring is Parmalee. And the Twins add on at least one here in the 7th.
And Pinto picking up his 18th RBI as Parmalee scores.
Farmland was cooking around the majors. Miguel Cabrera with the walk-off single in the 9th after David Price took a 3-hit shutout into the 9th and gave up 4 hits and 3 runs, allowing the White Sox to tie it. Big night for Yordano Ventura. 4 hits over 7 shutout innings. Royals win again, 44-32 on the road. Here's Nunez.
Cueto with Cincinnati having a great year, 19 wins and great earned run average.
Brewers continue their fade, another loss, and they're just 3 games above 500. They've not yet clinched a 500 mark. 1-0 to Nunez. And a strike taken.
I got one. Hey, Fred, I got one. Got a live one.
Two hopper to third. Lamb with the force play at second. Parmalee hit by a pitch to start the inning. The Twins work him around to score another run.
that cricket is the second most widely played game in the world? Join us on Wednesday morning at 11:30 here on Fox Sports North for a look at cricket, a global pastime, as we give you kind of an education on this game. That's Wednesday at 11:30 on Fox Sports North. Back to Target Field.
I am ashamed to admit this. I know nothing about the game of cricket.
Well, actually, cricket, baseball was kind of founded after the game of cricket.
And you know that for a fact?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yep. Back in the 1850s, that's when they first started playing baseball. And it was from the game of cricket. The pitcher, the batter, and
now, do they have
some wood?
Saw Casey Fiend finishing his warm-up tosses. Do they have a pitch count in cricket?
God, I hope not. Casey Fiend, he's making 73rd relief appearance. That's how many he had last year coming out of that bullpen.
Tuffy Gozowish will lead things off in the 8th.
Now, I don't know that much about cricket either, but you know, you watch in England when they play the cricket games that they can play for 2 or 3 days and then end in a tie.
Right. This is NCRD, by the way. And a base hit up the middle. His 3rd straight single.
Yeah, NCRD got a couple of hits in last night's ball game. Picks up his 3rd here tonight.
Back to our carsoup.com trivia question. I think it's Luis Gonzalez.
Ding, 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 ding.
The walk-off bloop hit to win the Diamondbacks lone World Series back in 2001.
I don't think the Diamondbacks call that a bloop. They call it a line drive off of Rivera.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
What was it?
But if you're a Diamondback fan, it's not a bloop. It was just a line drive base hit in the short center.
The infield was in, and the ball had so much backspin it barely got to the outfield grass.
So what you're saying is that it's kind of like your pitching wedge?
There's a guy who was the manager of that team. He's now the analyst on the Arizona broadcast, TV broadcast, with Steve Berthiaume as the play-by-play man. 1-1 to Pollock. It was such an incredible World Series, given the context in which it was played after the 9/11 attacks. The Yankees involved with so many dramatic wins. Here's a ball hit up the middle. Dozier with a knockdown, comes up firing, not in time. A pair of hits here to start the 8th inning.
Great effort by Brian Dozier right there. It looked like Casey Fiend tried to kick it in his follow through, but Dozier dove for it, knocked it down. But Pollock picks up his first hit. Brian diving right there. Ball kind of trickled out of his glove. Still able to get something on his throw. Pollock beats it out. 2 straight singles off of Casey Fiend.
And now Jake Lamb. Six outs to get. And Fiend's given up a couple of base hits to start his outing. Cutter on the outside corner. Lamb scored the only run of the game so far for the Diamondbacks after his leadoff double in the 4th. Just off the outside corner with a cutter. Swing and a miss at a regular fastball.
grounder to wrap up the 5th inning.
Fiend's had 5 double plays turned behind him.
Outside 2-2.
And Fiend right back on that pitching rubber. Now steps off.
Blasted to center. Hicks going back with room for the catch. Throw coming to second base. A strong throw by Hicks, but not in time. Both runners move up. So deep enough fly ball to advance both runners into scoring position. 1 down. Sanford Health Injury Report. Angels are going to need Howie Kendrick, and I would imagine this is the result of them having clinched. They'll shut him down for a while. I think they're probably more optimistic they'll get Kendrick back than Josh Hamilton, who's having a tough time getting back into the lineup on a regular basis. Trumbo has struck out 3 times. Gibson got him swinging 3 times. Fiend misses outside, ball 1.
Yeah, Gibson worked 7 innings. He gave up only 1 run, no walks, 8 strikeouts. That ties a career high.
Outside 2-0.
Where you need that fastball down and away. To a breaking ball.
2-1. Hope to the right side. Run will score. Parmalee to the bag. Trumbo gets credit for a run batted in with Ciarte coming in. And it's 6-2.
Trumbo credited with his 56th run batted in.
And now Montero due up, but Ron Gardenhire is going to work 1 man deeper into the bullpen here. First 2 men got base hits off of Casey Fiend. One of them's coming around to score. Fiend will give way here in the 8th.
Brian Dunsing will try to get the Twins off the field in the 8th inning.
Yeah, Brian last worked here on Friday against the Cleveland Indians. That 10-inning Twins 5-4 win. 1 shutout inning. Making his 61st relief appearance. 51 hits in 53 innings so far this year. 20 walks, 2 intentional, 32 strikeouts.
The most popular way to follow September pennant races is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, stats, live radio broadcasts, and the MLB.TV game of the day and more. Get at bat for your smartphone or tablet on the App Store or visit MLB.com. 1 strike to Montero. Little roller to short. Escobar fires across. That takes care of it. Dunston gets the job done, and we head to the bottom of the 8th.
New Twins Live presented by CenturyLink with Tom Hanneman and Tom Kelly. Tonight they'll look at Kyle Gibson and his strong start. 7 innings, 7 hits, just 1 run allowed. Gibson is in line to pick up his first interleague win of his career. Also, Trevor Plouffe had a good night at the plate, a perfect 4 for 4. TK will help break that down, and we'll bring you inside the manager's office to hear from Ron Gardenhire. It's all coming up on Twins Live. Dick and Bert.
Thank you, Marty. Twins in front here. A 6-2 ball game. And Stites comes in.
Stites making his 36th relief appearance in his rookie season with the Diamondbacks. Good fastball, hard slider, and a changeup. Stites 24 years old. Came over from the Padres organization back in July 31st of 2013. Years ago when Diamondbacks traded Ian Kennedy, right-handed pitcher, to the Padres.
Aaron Hicks with a couple of hits was retired on a hard ground ball in the 5th, and he takes strike 1. Hicks, Escobar, and Schaefer. Took the lead with a 3-run second inning, and have led by at least 2 runs ever since. 1-1. Popped up. He'll reach the seats. 1-2.
When we get to Detroit, it'll be the final and clearest indication who the manager feels is going to be a part of things next year, who the best options are at the different positions. Because until it's determined otherwise, the games in Detroit are going to be critically important to the playoff picture in the American League. And I say that during the Hicks at bat because it might very well be that the Twins will send Aaron Hicks out there as their center fielder in the Detroit series, with yet another eye toward him being the center fielder next spring. 3-2. Defensively, there's no question he's been the best center fielder the Twins have had the last 2 years, but much like the situation surrounding Pedro Florimon, you do need to hit a little bit, regardless of how good you are defensively. Full count to Hicks. Fouled away. Another thing was determined with the activity today in Cleveland and in Detroit. The Indians have been eliminated from the division title with their loss today. They need a lot of things happen to sneak in as a wild card now. Starting with a win tomorrow. Ball to the left field corner, and Ciardi's there to make the catch. Another good at bat for Hicks. One away. And we'll bring up Escobar. Subway in-game box score. The Twins, a lot of production from the bottom of the order, and a 4-for-4 night for Trevor Plouffe.
Good night for Trevor Plouffe. Escobar got the first run batted in, and then Parmalee, who took over for Mauer, the big 2-run single in the 3-run second inning.
Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. Roll to the right side. Nice pickup by Owings. Out number 2. That'll bring up Schaefer. Schaefer's 1 for 3, a couple of strikeouts, a single in the 4th. Big swing and a miss. One strike to the Twins left fielder. Down and in. Strike. Twins, as you saw Anthony Swarzak there, the Twins have listed TBA as the starter Saturday in Detroit. Phil Hughes will go tomorrow. Trevor May, Ricky Nolasco, perhaps Swarzak on Saturday. We're going to hope to get Tommy Malone a couple innings out of the bullpen. But he is not a candidate to start, at least as of today. 2-2.
I'm surprised Ricky Nolasco's not pitching Saturday, because it would only be 3 days rest.
You're right.
It might be Friday that they'd be looking for another starter.
Yeah, I think that's probably a misprint. 2-2.
3-2. Dozier on deck.
Trevor May celebrating his 25th birthday, hopefully with a Twins victory. Talking to Tommy Malone.
Fouled back by Schaefer. Schaefer, if this is an official at bat, it will be his 130th as a Twin. He had just 80 with the Braves.
The average at 287.
Another foul ball. Santana and Vargas given the night off, might be in the lineup tomorrow.
They're holding court.
Short left.
That's trouble.
And that's caught.
Nice
by Enciardi. We've seen him cover a lot of ground out there. Twins are done at the bottom of the 8th.
Up by 4. And it'll be Jared Burton on the mound in a non-save situation, making his 67th relief appearance. He got the win here in his last outing, just 2/3 of an inning, but he picked up that win in the 10-inning 5-4 win over the Indians last Friday. His 3rd win out of the bullpen.
Chris Owings will lead things off here in the 9th inning. Scheduled batters: Owings, Ross, and Gregorius. Owings on the night, an RBI single back on the 4th, sandwiched by a pair of strikeouts. First pitch lifted into the seats down the right side.
Nice crowd here tonight. At one time there was 28,902. Again, the Twins thank everybody for their support over the year. It hasn't been the best of year, but Definitely the fans have supported this ball club.
Fouled back, 2 strikes. If the Twins get the win here tonight, the home record will be improved to 34-46 with 1 game to play. Two strikes to Owings, and that's strike 3, 1 down.
It's the second time that Owings has swung at a pitch out of the strike zone like that. Third time that Owings has struck out.
Century Link linked to what's next. Vidal Nuno looking for his first win of the year. Decent ERA, but 0-6 on the season. And the Twins ace, Phil Hughes, going tomorrow.
Yes, the Twins saw Nuno when he was with the Yankees earlier this year. Twins beat him 6-1. And Hughes, for the 4th time, will try to win number 16.
Inside, ball 1 to Ross. One and one. Foul back. Just beneath us.
And there's not much. That's beneath us.
I think we've proven that on a nightly basis. 1-2. 2-2.
Change up there by Burton, just missing low. Tony Ross, 33 years old, 7 different major league teams to play for, starting with the Tigers in 2003.
3-2.
Gregorius on deck.
And a walk, putting Ross aboard with 1 out. And now Gregorius will bat. 3 doubles in the game last night and a single so far tonight.
That's the first walk tonight for the pitching staff. Gibson, no walks. Casey Fiend, none. Dunsing, none. Burton just walking the first batter.
Twins obviously have a shot at getting to 70 wins this year. This would be win number 67. Down low, ball 1. The teams headed for the playoffs are topped by a team, the Angels, 96 wins coming into play tonight. There's a ball 2-0. And then in the American League Central, Kansas City all but assured of a playoff spot. They have just 86 wins. Oakland with 86 wins.
Sometimes it only takes 85.
I figured if I left it out there long enough, you'd probably jump on that one. Really, when you think about it, though, I mean, you guys won the division. There were only 2 playoff teams in '87, and the battering of each other in the American League East kept the win total down in the West. I mean, you had the Yankees weren't that great in '87, but you had Toronto and you had Detroit. I think Baltimore was pretty good back then.
I think Detroit, what did they end up winning? 98 games that year.
Right. Popped up, backing out of play. You know, the point is, once the way Gary Gaetti so aptly put it back then, we got in the tournament. And once you're in the tournament, anything can happen. So whether it's Kansas City, who might get in as a wild card team, and then they've got to play the suicide game on Tuesday. You know, if you win that game, then you're in the field of
4 in the American Leagues. Swing and a miss, 2 down.
There's a sweet full 4 back then. And Burton picks up his second strikeout. Correa swinging through a fastball.
Gozawish will hit. Ball 1. And Ciarte on deck if Burton can't get Gozawish. On the outside corner.
Kirk Gibson saying he wanted all 3 of his catchers to catch this 3-game series. It'll be Bobby Wilson be catching tomorrow for the D-backs.
Half swing. He went. And it's 1-2. Diamondbacks haven't put a ball in play against Burton, who of course is trying to finish a game in place of Glenn Perkins. It'll be his role for the balance of this week. They have some pressure-packed games at Comerica Park in the 9th inning. At least that's the hope. 1-2. No, he won't be disseminating with that thing, will he?
Smile.
One and 2. Pulled foul.
This will be pitch number 21 for Burton.
Bounce to the left side. Nunez can't control the ball. Ball hit him in the glove, and then spinning in the infield dirt trying to get a handle of the baseball. He couldn't get it done, and the inning will continue.
We'll see how they rule it. It'll be an error on Nunez.
Okay.
First error of the ball, aim for either side.
And now Inciarte with 3 singles in the ball game, getting a base hit each of his last 3 times up. Big swing and a miss.
Inciarte swinging a hot bat. He came in swinging a hot bat. He's currently now on a 12-game hitting streak. 19 hits and 49 at-bats. Hitting almost 400.
And a base hit to left. Gozawish will stop at second. Ross scores. And the D-backs get a run, an unearned run for Burton, but a run nonetheless. 4th hit in a row for Inciarte.
Inciarte picking up his 26th run batted in.
Rick Anderson to the mound. A.J. Pollock the batter. Trip to the mound, and Burton throwing a lot of pitches. Twins would like to think they might have a save situation for him in tomorrow's game. The hope was he'd be able to boom, 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 get the 3 outs and get off the field, but that hasn't happened. Walk, an error, now a single.
National League, the playoff picture. The Nationals have clinched the division. Pirates and Cardinals will fight it out for a division championship or a wild card. Same too, the Dodgers and Giants. Over for strike one. Pollock singled his last time up.
The Giants beat the Dodgers last night in 13 innings. Kevin Correa came in, gave up 3 runs.
Wrapped to third, and Nunez will go to the bag to end it. Well, the Twins even the series at a game apiece. Got a really good final next to last start from Kyle Gibson.
Yeah, I like the way that Kyle Gibson went about his business. 8 strikeouts for Gibson, no walks, and 8 strikeouts ties a career high.
Now, Tom Hanneman, the Twins even the series here tonight, now have a chance to win the series and finish this home schedule with a winning homestand.
Dick, a reversal of roles tonight for the Twins, who had the hits and the dominant starter en route to a 6-3 win. Up next on Twins Live, Tom Kelly joins me to break it all down.